Hi, hello. Welcome to the replay. Thank you so much for joining me. Hi, everyone. Hi, thank you for watching the replay. Make sure to share and give me some hearts. Today we're going to be chatting about what makes a really bad logo, and if you, for me, if you know what a bad logo looks like when you work with a designer, you'll be able to recognize their abilities and then, make changes to the logo and make requests that will really help your brand be elevated. So hi, thank you so much for joining, and feel free to share and give some hearts. Thank you so much. So what makes a really bad logo? Number one is if it's designed by someone without any experience. Now, this is honestly your choice, and if you want to go with someone that has less experience, maybe because of a budget thing, or you're just not sure what you want, you just need something really quick and dirty, go ahead and do that, but just keep in mind that the less you pay, the less well done your logo is, and it's very obvious to people. If you want a more upscale brand, a more elevated brand, you might want to consider getting somebody who's a bit more experienced. So that's number one. Thank you so much for joining. Number two, for recognizing a bad logo is if you rely on trends. So if it's a really trendy logo, let's say this year the trend is bright pinks and lots of florals, then next year it's going to be something completely different and your logo is not going to work for you. So you want to make sure that, hi, thank you for joining. You want to make sure that your logo is not too trendy. For example, a couple years ago, it was really cool to have logos that were almost three-dimensional, and now that's kind of phasing out, and people who have that logo who thought it was really trendy look kind of almost 90-ish style. So make sure that it's not based solely on trends. And with that, make sure it doesn't have any stock art. So if you either put together a logo yourself or have somebody create it for you, don't put any, thank you so much for the hearts. Don't use stock art because one, it's obvious to people if you're using stock art for a logo, and two, you might get somebody else using that same stock art in their logo, and then yours will not be considered unique anymore. So really be careful when you're using stock art. Same thing with stock images. Sometimes people will end up using the same one, so you have to be really careful with that because it reflects poorly on your brand. It kind of says, well, she or he didn't really care enough about their logo to get it professionally done. So be careful with stock art in logos. Another thing is that if you design it for yourself, or if you have somebody design it with you in mind. So let's say you really, really love, I don't know, trees, and you really, really want a tree in your logo, but your business is completely different. Your business and your clients, they wouldn't even understand why you have that symbol in your logo. Don't design a logo with just you in mind. Yes, keep yourself in mind, especially for coaches. You're branding yourself. You're not branding a completely different company or like an entity. So you're branding yourself, and you can brand your name, you can create a logo that's a bit more of your personality, but you still want to brand to your ideal client. You don't want to create something that they won't get or they might not like. So for example, my brand, RoblesDesigns, is really feminine, and it's pink, and that's what my target market is. I go after like the Kate Spade type of ladies who want a kick-ass website. But I'm not going after the nature lovers or the really masculine types that want a badass masculine website. You really have to keep that in mind. Don't design for yourself, design for your ideal audience. And then if you have, I am all for the personality fonts, so any fonts that are kind of quirky and fun and really reflect what your company's all about or what you're all about, but be careful with how you use them. So let's say you have your name in a really cool scripty font, and then underneath you have coaching in another cool different font, and then you have maybe it all around it you have a bunch of other words in different fonts. That is just too many different fonts. I would stick to 2 or less in a logo, and then make one the dominant font. So whatever thing you want people to look at, whatever item is the most dominant thing, whether that's your last name or the word fitness, then make that the special font, make that larger, make that bright and colorful, and then make everything else plain and simple. Do not overthink it. Just make sure that your logo, you're careful with the fonts that you're using, and then you're careful with the amount of fonts that you have. So if you rely too heavily on color, I've had clients where they got their logo done somewhere else, and then they come to me and they just need to freshen it up, but they want to use their logo in one color. So taking something that was maybe 3D or something and then making it all one color so that they can make it a bit more modern. It doesn't look right because it was designed with color in mind, and you're not going to be printing everything in color. You're eventually going to want to use a black and white logo, and if you have a logo that relies really heavily on color to create that dominance and subdominance within that logo and within the design balance, then it's not going to look right, and it's not going to give that same resonating message that your logo is giving. Thank you so much for the hearts. And then that's about it. Oh, if your logo is just too much, that's the last one, right? If it is too much, you have, a flower in there, you have, again, the different fonts, if you have a bunch of symbols around it, a bunch of different colors, it is just all over the place. You took everything in your back pocket, you took everything from your mood board that you really liked, and you just threw it in there. That is just a huge no. Simplify it. So pick one. If you really want a symbol or an icon, like let's say a little water drop or something, pick one thing. Don't try to grab for all of the different symbols, and then pick one font that will be the dominant font and one font that will be used for, let's say the word design is in your logo, in your name. So it'll be small, it'll be plain, it won't be attracting too much attention. That way it's just simple. Simple is the easiest, especially if you are starting out, either you're doing it yourself or you're having a more amateurish is not the right word, inexperienced designer do it for you. Try to keep it simple so that nobody gets confused, and it really hones in. So I think out of all of those, thank you so much for the hearts. Out of all of those, the most important one is to just to really design the logo for your clients. Design the logo for your clients, because if you design it for yourself, sure, it might look beautiful to you, but your clients might not even get what you're trying to do, what your point is with the logo. And research your competition, see what they're doing. And just because they have, let's say, just because they have a bunch of flowers in their logos, that doesn't necessarily mean you need it that way. It really depends on what your target market is looking for. So that's it. Those are the tips. Thank you so much for the hearts. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them in. So again, just don't design it for yourself. Design it, get a designer that has a bit more experience if you want a more upscale logo. Don't rely on trends. And make sure that you're not overusing your fonts, or your fonts are readable when they get really small. Thank you so much for the hearts. And just make sure that it is not too much, that it is not overwhelming. That goes for color. If you have too many colors, too many symbols, too many fonts, if you're trying to do everything that you like in a logo, it is just going to be it's a big no. Don't do that. Keep it simple. So thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for the hearts. I really appreciate it. Make sure you share. Sharing is caring. And thank you for the hearts. And I will let you guys go and have a great evening. I have to get on a call, actually. All right. Bye-bye.